It's time to go Super Saiyan! Or at least Super Middleweight. Hola everyone, and welcome to the House of Ippo. Chapter 1336 has socked us in the face, which means it's time to start talking about this short chapter. There are only 10 pages, but they're packed full of pretty interesting content and dialogue, if I do say so myself. So for those of you that do not remember chapter 1335, basically Takamura and Keith Dragon finished the first round in 18 pages. I'm pretty sure that's almost unheard of for George. In fact, thinking back in my brain, gigantic fights usually last like 2 to 3 chapters a round, which means that we're getting a high-paced match. And honestly, Takamura and Keith Dragon seemed pretty equal at the end of this. They were both bleeding, they both got some great shots in, and they both had some future planning. But what does 1336 have in store for our guy Takamura? Well, Kurakuran is filled with cheers of the crowd, and Kimura says, "This is the first time I've actually seen a super middleweight fight in person. What do you think about what's going on, Miata?" And so what we're actually kind of getting here is something really cool. Again, it's really pointing out the fact that Japan doesn't have any really higher weight people in boxing. Again, they're a little bit smaller build as a nation, which means that Takamura is one of the biggest people walking around. He is just a thick boy with long arms and an absolutely massive body. So he's really never gotten the chance to spar and go up against people in his own weight class. And Miata says, well, this is the speed of the lightweight division and the destructive power of a heavyweight. I thought that it was just the middleweight division that had it all, but that seems to be shifting, i.e. the super middleweight seems to be becoming the next absolute powerhouse to watch. The exciting speed and power combined into one absolute monstrosity of a package. And Kimura asks Miata, what are your predictions for the future? What's going on with this match? Miata kind of thinks, I don't know, but there's something wrong with this fight. And everyone's kind of confused, like, what do you mean there's something wrong with this fight? And we cut back to the ring, and Kamigawa says, how does he feel? How does it feel to be in the ring fighting against somebody, basically, who is going to be your equal? And Takamura says, can't you see? Can't you see how it's going? And, you should be a little bit more confident, me old man. And Kamigawa says, it's not about you. It's about the strength of your opponent. What is going on? Takamura says, he's a dragon. He's not bad at all. And I bet he's even better when he's serious, when he started to kick it up a gear. And we've seen this idea of a gear, one, before in the manga, and we kind of see it in different aspects of life. One, obviously, One Piece, when Luffy goes up a gear, his power kicks up a notch. When you shift up in a car, you go up a gear, meaning that you get a little bit more speed, a little bit more power. Again, unless you torque it down. But again, that's going into something different. But Takamura is basically saying he's still going to be able to go up a gear. And Kamigawa asks, what do you mean he's going up a gear? What do you mean you're going up a gear? Takamura says, don't worry, it doesn't matter how many gears he has. As long as I'm stronger than that, I'm good. Basically, I don't care if he has 1,000 gears. I have 1,001. I will always beat him when it comes down to it. And this confidence from Takamura isn't just, to me, feeling like, the old cocky son of a gun that we're used to seeing. To me, this is Takamura really pushing the limits and stating that he's confident in this fight. He's not being cocky about it. He's being genuinely ready to go and rearing. And we switch to a different perspective. We switch to Keith talking with his seconds. And he says, the trainer asks him, what do you think? What is your impression of the match going on so far, the plan that we have? And Keith says, I hadn't heard that he was this strong. Now, something's kind of picking in Keith's mind. And the trainer says, well, you've seen the videos, haven't you? Many, many times. I.e., you've reviewed the footage. How can this man not be the footage? Like, you've worn holes in this stuff. You've been prepared for this. And Keith responds with, well, it just means that he's stronger than what we were testing for, what we were planning for. So everything that we have done is basically useless. He's so strong. Everything that we've planned before is absolutely useless. And the trainer's basically doing something that I do not recommend. He's getting absolutely great feedback from his boxer, and this is going to, I believe, be Keith's downfall. The trainer says, what we did was not wrong. The plan is not wrong. He slows down in the second half. We're going to stick to our plan and beat him in that portion of the fight. Now, there's one absolutely massive problem with trying to beat Takamura in the second half. He's always been cutting huge weight, meaning that his stamina has not really been there. He gets tired because he does not have enough energy stored within his system to go the full fight. And that actually happens with a lot of athletes when they cut weight. You'll see it with boxers, MMA fighters. Conor McGregor is actually a really, really interesting case study because his tank actually gets smaller as he gets bigger, i.e., he's not able to maintain a fight over a long period of time. So once you drag him into the later halves, he's a little bit easier to beat. I still couldn't beat him in a fight, but for those that are experts at the very top of their game, he is 100% just a little bit better. So they're saying, let's stick with our plan. Let's beat him in the second half. But they're not taking into account Takamura is really close to his natural weight, meaning that he has a lot more energy inside of him. Again, this can also tie back into he's not used to fighting longer matches, but the way that Kamigawa trains his athletes, when they're in peak condition, they'll be able to go the entirety of the match. And Keith thinks to himself, right, okay. He's thinking to himself, anyway, he's tough and belligerent. He's got a lot of skills, and that's not it. He's very, very good. And he's thinking to himself, I've got the gist of this. Basically, Keith is going to go into round number 2 thinking to himself, I can beat Takamura. And that's not always a good thing. However, Takamura is coming into the next round thinking, I wonder if I can beat him in round 2. And for me, I'm pretty okay with that. So, like I said, this is a pretty short chapter, but there are a few different notes that I really want to touch on that I think are really important that we talked about a little bit. Let me readjust. So, first things first, Miyata's feeling like there's something wrong with this match, and we don't quite know what it is yet. We don't know if it's Takamura trying to do something special and different. We don't know if Keith is still hiding something that we haven't gotten to see before. So we're going to still be a little bit on edge. And then I'm also really interested in Takamura's confidence coming into this. He's sitting there. He's basically telling the coach, listen, man, I got this. I don't care how strong he is. I am 100% stronger than him. There is not a chance in hell that I'm going to lose this fight. And we've seen this kind of mentality come from one or two other people before. And the biggest example that I would like to point out is Ippo when he's made his knockout declarations, basically going, I'm going to go finish it in this round. And he goes and finishes it in this round. Now, a short Takamura match is not something that we typically get to see unless it's a gag. But I think if George kind of plays his cards right, we can see a really good match come from Keith and Takamura. And honestly, something a little bit different that I would love to see is a short, serious match where at the very end, Takamura does get roughed up a little bit in round 2 because he's willing to sacrifice it all to show that he's absolutely stronger. And one thing that I haven't considered, I don't think it's going to go this way, but we haven't ever really seen this from Takamura, is the entire fight going all the way until points, i.e., it comes down to who is the better boxer technically, or at least who's been able to land more hits. And to me, that could be a really interesting way to win the fight, showing Ippo you don't always have to win by knockout, you can win by points. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to see an absolutely brilliant knockout, one way or the other, and Ippo's going to come back to the ring a little bit rejuvenated. So, who do you think is going to win this match after this chapter? Keith and Takamura are both super confident. Kamigawa is a little bit worried, and Keith's trainer is really not planning the best strategy because he's not adapting to the situation. Massive mistake. So, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Hajime no Ippo related content. And for everyone new and old, welcome and welcome back. It's your boy Lohali, and I will see you next video.